Lesson 13.1, hiring new employees. Your objective is to calculate the cost of recruiting new employees. Recruiting is the act of soliciting qualified people to work for a company. Your formula is total recruiting cost equals advertising expenses plus interviewing expenses plus hiring expenses. Okay? Little tidbit. Companies will hire what are called headhunters to go search out new employees. They'll do this through mailings, through phone calls. All that stuff costs lots of money, okay? And if they find you an employee, they get paid a pretty penny. So, go ahead, copy this down, press pause, and resume play when you're ready to move on. All right, moving along. Here we go, example 1. Talbot Manufacturing Company is searching for a person to head its production department. The personnel department placed advertisements at a total cost of $6,495 and employed Empire Executive Search Company to locate candidates. Empire recommended Alice Welch, Thomas Valdez, and Cleveland Adams. Talbot paid the candidates travel expenses, which included transportation, lodging, and meals for interviews. Okay? The expenses for each candidate were $917, $1,235, and $1,135. After the interviews, Talbot hired Cleveland Adams at an annual salary of $154,900. Talbot paid these expenses to hiring. They paid moving expenses of $13,600, real estate broker's fees for the sale of the home, which was 6% of $240,000, Empire's finder fee, 25% of Cleveland's first year salary. So finally, after all that, the question is, what was the total expense of recruiting Cleveland Adams? Now, this is not that tough. It's a lot of words, a lot of numbers. The thing you got to remember is even though they hired Cleveland, they still have to pay the expenses that they put out for Alice and Thomas. Okay? So let's go ahead, let's start making a list, and let's add everything up. My suggestion is start at the top of the page and work your way down. All right, so it says the personnel department placed advertisements at a total cost of $6,495. So we're just going to start right there, $6,495. Okay. Then coming down the page, Talbot paid the candidates travel expenses. Okay. These travel expenses are all right here. All right. Let's go ahead, let's add those up. 917 plus 1235 plus 1135 works out to be 3287. Okay? Those are all the travel and transportation expenses. 3,287. We're going to add that to that. Now, coming down the page, it says, after the interview, Talbot hired Cleveland Adams at an annual salary of $154,900. We don't use that yet, but we will. Talbot paid these expenses to hire him. Moving expenses of $13,600. Okay, they paid the moving expenses. Add that in. All right. They paid a real estate broker's fee for the sale of the home, which was $240,000 times 6%. Okay, so 240,000 times 0.06 times 0.06. Okay, they paid $14,400 to the real estate broker. All right. Empire's finder fee was 25% of Cleveland's first year salary. So we need to find 25% of the first year salary. $154,900 times 0.25 is $38,725. Okay, so we're going to add $38,725 here. Okay, now that's everything. Let's add this up. Okay, add all that up. Let's see what we get. $64.95 plus $32.87 plus $13,600, $14,400 plus $38,725 gives me a total of $76,507. Okay? Those were the expenses, the total expenses for recruiting one person to come work for the company. Okay? It's not cheap. Plus, now they have to pay him his annual salary. All right? So that is why businesses use headhunters to find the right person. They don't want to pay those expenses all the time. They want to find somebody to come work for them that's going to stay there and do a good job. All right? So let's look at problem number 1 of your homework. Okay? Push pause, work this out, and play to see it done. All right. Looks like this one has a lot less to read. It's all put out for you already. Advertising expenses are $1,975. Interviewing expenses are $1,470 and $1,260. Hiring expenses are $475, $8,600, and 6% on the sale of $190,000 250 home. All right, so let's find 6% of that. And while I'm plugging this in the calculator, does everybody know why 6% is used? 6% is a standard fee that a real estate agent receives from the sale of a house. Okay, so we're going to add $11,415 in. Okay, so add all that up. And if my fingers will work right. Okay, you get $25,195 in total recruiting costs. Okay, great. Look at number 2. Press pause, work it, play to resume.
Okay, number 2 says advertising expenses are $21.80, interviewing expenses are $25.90 and $13.55. Hiring expenses are $575, $74.50, and 6% of a $464,000 home. So you add $21.80, $25.90, $13.55. $575, $74.50, and then you have to find 6% of $464,000. $27,840. When you add that together, you get $41,990.
All right, thank you, Erica. You did that perfect. Let's go ahead and let's look at problem number 3. All right, go ahead and press pause to work this out. When we come back, I think Josh is going to be working this one.
Advertising expenses are $3,295.50. Interviewing expenses are $1,545.62, $987.31, $365.12, and $2,214.79. Hiring expenses are $1,658.75, $3,254.81, and 4.75% on a $398,880 home. So we had $3,295, $1,554, 25, $987, 2,214. 58, 75, 3,154, 81. And then we got 4.75%. 398,880. And that equals 32,268.70.
Okay, thank you, Josh. I hope you can read that. The answer, the final answer is supposed to be 32,268.70. Okay, he did everything right. He did have an extra 9 up here in that number. So if you can read what's going on there, that should be $32,095.50. This one is a 9 right here, I believe. 9,8,731. Okay, so he did everything right. You just add everything up, find your 4.75% of the price of the home, and your final answer is $32,268.70. All right, thank you, sir. All right, example 2. Able Manufacturing Company has a budget of $36,000 for recruiting costs for the position of chief engineer. The company has spent $4,500 on advertising expenses and $8,700 on interviewing expenses. Able is willing to pay a 6% commission on selling the selected individual's home. What is the maximum selling price that Able would pay 6% commission on in order to stay at or below $36,000 in total recruiting costs? Okay, so first thing we need to do is we need to figure out our variable on this one. All right, so they want to stay under $36,000. They're saying they'll spend 6% commission on the sale of the house. Okay, so that's what we don't know. We don't know the price of the house. So X equals price of house. Okay, and that's the price they sell it for. All right, now take the $36,000 that they want that is the most they want to spend, and $36,000 has to equal all the expenses. Your first expense is $4,500 plus $8,700 plus 0.06 of the house that they're trying to sell. Okay? So when we work this out, 36,000 equals, add these two together right here, 13,200 plus 0.06x. Subtract 13,200 from both sides. Get 22,800 equals 0.06x. Divide both sides by 0.06. And you get 380,000 equals X. So what that means is they will pay 6% on a house up to $380,000 to sell and still remain on budget. Okay? They don't want to spend more than that. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's look at the next problem. Okay, problem number 4. Press pause, work it out, play to resume. Okay, so Executives at Third Federal Bank are in a national search for a new director of human resources. They have budgeted $30,000 for the search. They have spent $8,600 on advertising expenses, $7,650 on interviewing. They're willing to pay 5.5% commission on selling the selected individual's home. What is the maximum selling price on which Third Federal would pay 5.5% commission and stay within the $30,000 in total recruiting costs? Okay, so again, X is going to equal the price of the house. Okay. They want to stay within 30,000. 30,000 equals, okay, now all the expenses, they've spent 8,600 plus 7,650, and they're willing to pay 0.055%, or not percent, but in decimal form. Okay, 8,600 plus 7,650. Missing a zero there. 30,000 equals 16,250 plus 0.005, or I'm sorry, plus 0.055x. Subtract 16,250 for both sides. You get 13,750 equals 0.055x. Divide both sides by 0.055. And you come up with X to equal $250,000. Okay, that's how much the house can cost. All right. Last problem. Number 5, go ahead and try this one, and press pause. Play when you're ready. All right, so Atlas Chemical Company wanted to keep their total recruiting cost for the position of chief chemist to less than $100,000. They've spent $15,500 on advertising expenses, $32,700 on interviewing. They're willing to pay 8% on selling the selected individual's home. What is the maximum selling price that Atlas would pay 8% commission on and stay under $100,000 in total recruiting costs? Okay, X is going to equal price of the home. Okay, now they want to stay under $100,000. Okay, so you have to take $15,500 they've already spent plus $32,700 plus 8% of the price of the house. Okay, work this out. 100,000 equals 48,200 plus 0.08x. Subtract 48,200 from both sides. Okay, 51,800 equals 0.08x. Divide both sides by 0.08. And you get $647,500 equals X as the price of the house. Okay. Now, here's your assignment, lesson 13.1, page 486, 1 through 11, and 14. Okay? Get busy.